Gilbo here at JGilbo11, breaking down pitching for tonight's slate. Just 5 games, usual Thursday stuff. Overall, I mean, not a particularly safe slate. I mean, we got some weather concerns in New York, but it looks like things will actually hold off long enough for Jacob deGrom to get the game in. Things have lightened up in Boston, so it looks like we should be okay as far as weather goes. A couple other notes to kind of talk about as far as like injuries and stuff go. I mean, Jacob deGrom, I mean, was terrific in his last start, but he also was dealing with a blister towards the end of that game. deGrom's still the top option, but it is something to note. Just given the fact that does resurface. We're also looking at Kenta Maeda, who, coming off the DL, he went one of his longest outings in his career, and then ended up on the DL with a tight hamstring. So I don't like to play around with Dodgers pitchers when they get on the DL. The thing is, it's not an arm issue, but I can't see Maeda going completely deep into this game. He's probably going to have to go 5-6 innings tops. I can't really see him working into the 7th unless he's just extremely efficient. So I don't mind Maeda tonight. I mean, it's not a bad spot. Cardinals team is, an average offense against right-handed pitching. Some of the guys starting to come around. Maeda isn't bad. I rather take some stabs elsewhere and take higher risk guys, to be honest. I have a little bit more upside, but we'll talk about some of these. I mean, Jacob deGrom, certainly your top option going up against the Padres, who have the second highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. Bottom 5 in WOBA, they're ranked 27th, low hard contact rate, low ISO. Don't walk a ton. And you look at deGrom's numbers this year, the strikeout rate's been insanely high, 32.3%, 15.3% swinging strike rate. His 336 BABIP's even high for his career norm. So, I mean, you should get that average to continue to, or that ERA to continue to drop down. deGrom easily the top option. I don't mind paying the price tag. The problem is on DraftKings is trying to find an SP2 that you're even comfortable using, and I honestly cannot. I don't want to pay a 10K Verlander against a Houston team that's not striking out a ton, and that's actually good against right-handed pitching, especially given that Verlander is not missing bats. I mean, average 9.3% swinging strike rate, walk rate is 11%, giving up a 36% hard contact rate. Those are definitely not numbers that I'm thrilled with for Verlander. So for the most part, I mean, he's a deep GPP play at best. I won't be having any shares. I think he's more of just a multiple lineup guy. I think if you're looking as an SP2 on DraftKings, and I don't potentially like it, but I think Pomeranz is kind of an option to consider. His numbers have up and down. The one thing that I like and kind of gives me a little bit of comfort, yes, he struggled against Tampa. Yes, he struggled against Milwaukee. Milwaukee is certainly understandable. Tampa is a little bit of a disappointment. Other than that, has not been bad. You look at that Oakland start. I mean, 4 innings, that's all he went. He allowed 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. Still got 14.8 DK points. Certainly on this slate at his 76 price tag, I'm okay with that, especially pairing him up with deGrom and being able to get bats in because, I like bats. I like the Milwaukee-Arizona game for bats. I like Houston and Detroit in that regards for offense. Boston has over a 5-run total, near 5.5 against Nick Martinez. So there are some bats I'm going to want to be able to get in. And, pairing deGrom with a Verlander is a little bit too expensive. Robbie Ray is in a really tough matchup here. A lot of Brewers bats who hit lefties really well. Brewers against left-handed pitching this year, yes, they do have the high 25% strikeout rate. That's one area where you can make a positive note for Ray. But 353 WOBA allowed, 353 WOBA against lefties, 214 ISO, 36% hard contact rate. You look at Ray, he's giving up a ton of hard contact himself. I mean, 46%. Home runs have been somewhat adequate, but I think that's a little, he's going to kind of regress in that department as well. He does miss a lot of bats, 13% swinging strike rate, 29% K percentage. So, I mean, there is that potential. He does walk a ton of guys. So, Ray is just a high risk, high reward option at this. I mean, the run totals have dropped down a little bit from last night, but it's still a good ballpark for hitters, tough on pitching. I do expect Ray to get some run support even with Arizona going on the road. So with that regards, I don't mind Ray as a deep GPP guy. But he certainly doesn't have a good floor in this one. So guys that you can definitely stay away from, Zach Davies, Mike Fiers, those guys are completely awful. Nick Martinez as well. Dawson LeMay, this is a guy who's making his first start for the Padres. Decent strikeout rate in the minors, and not a bad arm. His numbers indicate he's been a little bit wild. Mets offense against right-handed pitching, middle of the road. They haven't been striking out a ton, decent hard contact rate, walk rates above average. So he's a guy, yeah, he's cheap. You can fit whatever bat you want in there with him. I don't know how stretched out, and in fact that he's going to go 6-7 innings in this one, which, I still always look for my starting pitcher. He starting pitcher down the minors, but going 6-7 innings in a major league game is different than the minors. So he's probably a guy that maybe keep an eye on going forward. He's filling in for Jared Weaver, who, this would have been an easy night if Jared Weaver was on the hill, but there's definitely other offenses you can target. So I think for the most part, the Cardinals-Dodgers game, low total out there. Michael Wacha does struggle a little bit with left-handed pitching or left-handed hitters. But I do think he can go out there and toss a decent outing. He's gone at least 6 innings in every start this year. He's been really solid. Has only allowed more than 3 earned runs just once, and that was against Milwaukee. Strikeouts are usually going to hover around 4, 5, 6. He's not going to give you a ton of upside. I like him. I don't mind him on tonight's slate. I think there's just more saying about the slate than what actually Wacha is. Maeda's a guy that I just find troubling to put into my lineups. It's nothing against him. It's just, once again, I don't like dealing with the injury situations. I don't think that Maeda is going to have a long leash. It's not a bad option. I guess if you have the extra salary, you're okay with it, but I might drop down and take an extra hitter or two. So for the most part, DeGrom's easy one. But then, after that, you're kind of just looking Pomeranz, Ray, a couple of risky lefties, Wacha, Maeda at best. So it's not a safe slate by any means for cash games. But if you're playing, it's definitely going to be a fun one and maybe a tilting one at that. So that's going to wrap things up here. You can head over to DaveMassickF.com, check out our great tools and content.